Sometimes life itself gets in the way of living. You become so busy that you exist instead of living. You take a deep breath, keep doing what you're doing, and realize that you forgot to take your next breath about an hour later. A lot of people say that's what life is like these days. But if that's true, is it really worth it? I mean, having it all is great, but is it worth giving up your life for? Watching the microwave blink every second on the 11 o'clock clock was starting to get on my nerves, not to mention the headache was getting worse. You'd think that after living in Florida for over 20 years, I'd be used to these damn power outages, but that wasn't the case. All these years, I kept telling myself that I needed to get one of those big whole house batteries to solve the problem, but I never seemed to have the time to do it. It just wasn't that big of a deal, especially now. When I got home that evening, I deliberately left the overhead light on in the kitchen, but those damn LED lights on all the appliances in the room provided enough light for me to read the newspaper. It was dark, I was alone, and I wanted to keep it that way. I had to shift my weight completely on the bar stool just to get comfortable, and now I regretted letting Connie talk me into choosing those particular chairs. They were about 10 centimeters higher than they needed to be. The seats lacked padding, and the price was almost 40% higher than the ones I originally wanted. I finally gave up because I realized I would never sit in them anyway, and if I did, it would only be for a quick Saturday morning breakfast. Who knew my ass would be stuck in one of them for more than 2 hours? Certainly not me. It really was a hell of an evening, I thought to myself. Although strictly speaking, it wasn't evening anymore, and glancing at the clock, I saw that the time was nearing 2:15. Since I was older and a long-distance runner, ice packs became my best friends. When I came back from a 20-25-kilometer run, I would take a couple of frozen bags out of the freezer, wrap them around my Achilles tendons, and put a couple more under my swollen feet. I hated being cold, but I hated the pain even more. I never knew what fasciitis was until I got it and suffered from it for 3 or 4 months. I had seen firsthand what poor quality running shoes, running too fast, and no ice afterward could do to a body that was no longer as young as it seemed. 10 minutes of running, 10 minutes of rest is how it usually went. It hurt like hell for the first 10 minutes. But after my feet were partially numb, it wasn't so bad. I only needed to ice on and off a couple of times to make sure I minimized the damage the road had done to my feet. Sometimes in the winter, I would kick off my shoes and wade waist-deep into our unheated pool. It acted the same as ice, but it also cooled my entire body. Even in Florida in the winter, it was sometimes pretty darn cold. But this time, the ice wasn't under my feet. It was wrapped around my arms and on either side of my face. The period between Thanksgiving and New Year's has always been my favorite time of year. I even set aside a week of vacation to enjoy every minute of the vacations. Even the stupid annual corporate Christmas party was almost tolerable. Since I was the manager, I was required to attend, or at least show up, eat dinner and socialize with the rest of the employees before sneaking out unnoticed. They had the bar open for the first hour and a half, and most of them did their best to drink themselves into oblivion during that time. I sat back, sipped my beer, and tried my best to keep everyone under control, which wasn't easy at times. More than once in the last 10 or so years, I had to call the police because of an obnoxious drunk or someone who had had too much to drink. Like I said, sometimes it wasn't very pleasant. My wife Connie graciously attended my holiday party until last year, but last year she declined, complaining of a headache, which we both knew was an outright lie. No matter. I let it go, especially when she said my presence at her party wouldn't be required. There is a God, I told myself that night, but I was wrong. This year, I asked her if she wanted to come with me to my place. She had started making excuses 2 weeks before, so I knew the answer before I even asked. Why don't you go and we could have our own party when you get home if it's not too late? Heck, with an invitation like that, I didn't even think I would stay for dinner on Saturday night, but I did. I did manage to get home a little after 11:30, however, and we did have our own intimate holiday party that night. I was waiting for news of her party, but she was rather quiet about it. Not that I was looking forward to it. I was determined not to go and was preparing to propose to her the same thing she had proposed to me weeks earlier, but then I saw the dress she had bought especially for the occasion. I know that holiday dresses are supposed to be festive, daring, and maybe a little short, but what she was planning to wear went beyond all three categories. "You're not seriously considering wearing this dress on Saturday night, are you?" "What's wrong with my dress?" "I think it looks spectacular on me," was her quick reply with a touch of sarcasm. "Honey, that dress says you're ready for anything. And right now, don't you have something a little more conservative? You don't think I could succeed in a dress like that, do you? You think it's too young and attractive for me? Is that what you're saying?" I thought long and hard before I answered. "Connie, that dress makes you look like a cheap whore." I didn't know how best to put it. "Are you saying I look like a whore?" "That dress would make you look like one. Don't get me wrong, showing it off and wearing it with me is one thing, but for a holiday party alone, it's too much." Okay. She didn't take my words well. I pretty much knew she would. Even though it was December, the next couple days were very frosty in our relationship, but it was the holidays and nothing could ruin my mood. The following Saturday, she had a company party, and I watched as Connie began to get ready. I watched her every move. When she came out of the bathroom, wearing makeup and looking fabulous, she saw that I had put on my nice suit. "Are you going out?" "With you to your party." "I thought you said you didn't want to go again this year." "Connie, do you really think I'm going to let you go to a party like that without an escort?" "What? You don't trust me?" "In that outfit, I don't have a chance in hell of trusting you." The look she gave me spoke for itself. "Okay, but when we get there, you're on your own." She finished getting dressed and looked really amazing. So good that I tried to talk her out of going out. "Why don't we go out? Have a quiet dinner and then come home so I can torment your body the rest of the night?" She didn't offer me option number 2 when we pulled up to the Hilton Hotel where the party was being held. Like every other corporate party I'd ever been to, the employees were gathered in one place, and the rest of us, like me, were aimlessly hanging around the room and surrounding areas. I saw Connie talking, probably to her friends, so after an hour I decided to make some new friends. Most of the guys I talked to were as bored as I was, but they were already drunk after an hour of non-stop drinking at the open bar. I struck up a conversation with a couple wives, and some of them knew my wife, but everyone seemed to know her boss, Doug. Did most rate him just above the dregs of society and the rest of us? Well, I heard it mentioned a few times that he was below Whaler. Arrogant, God complex, asshole, and a few other choice words is how he was described, and these descriptions came from sober spouses. I thought that because of all the money they were throwing around, that dinner would be something out of the ordinary, but it wasn't. It was the usual medium-rare steak, some sort of marinated chicken and blackened fish. I've seen better cooked fish at McDonald's. Needless to say, I was not impressed. It looked like they spent most of their money on a bar that ran until midnight, or until the last employee passed out. I had 2 cocktails that I drank first, and then just walked around with a half-filled glass of wine. "Having a good time?" one of the executives from her company asked me. I was about to answer him when he continued. "You're Connie's husband, aren't you? She's one of our rising stars." Doug took her under his wing to prepare her for the team leader position. "You should be proud of her." He smiled. I smiled and thanked him before he moved on to the next group of people. "By the way, where is my promising star?" I stood up and looked around. No one. With the rest of my drink in my hand, I went in search of my wife. The party occupied 1 room in the lobby and 2 adjoining hotel suites. After spending 10 minutes walking down the hall and not finding Connie, I headed for one of the 2 suites. There were certainly a lot of drunken employees in there. I just hoped someone was keeping an eye on them and getting the car keys. I was just about to leave the first room when I passed the bathroom and leaned against the wall by the door. And that's when I heard it. "Stop it. Get a hold of yourself. Steve's with me today. That was my wife Connie's voice. I can't help it that you brought his ass with you tonight. Connie, I got us a goddamn room for later. I thought you said he wasn't coming. It's not my fault. He took one look at the dress you bought me and wouldn't let me leave the house without it. What was he trying to be? Your lord and protector? Well, he was a little late for that, wasn't he? I heard him laugh. It sounded like my promising star was climbing the career ladder on his back. I heard muffled conversation and then something about getting rid of me. I'm just glad I wasn't drunk because this was threatening to get nasty. The bottle of champagne in the ice bucket next to me was empty, but it didn't matter. It would have to do. You see, Doug was 8 years younger, at least 20 pounds heavier, and 10 centimeters taller. I needed to prove myself. Connie came out first, pulling off what she so eloquently called her dress. She walked past without even noticing me. And Doug? He came out right behind her. Doug, you know what? You really are an asshole, I said, as he looked to his left and saw me standing there. Then the bastard looked me right in the eye and smiled. Bad move. I hid the bottle in my left hand behind my back. I think if he had done anything else, I might not have taken it to the next level. But the look he gave me spoke, I slept with your wife, and there's nothing you can do about it. Connie heard me call out the asshole's name and turned to face us. Everything happened quickly, and at the same time as if in slow motion. Even an empty champagne bottle hitting someone right on the head should have caused unbearable pain. In a movie, the bottle would have shattered and Doug would have passed out. However, this wasn't in a movie, and although Doug was hit, he didn't pass out. I've never been a fighter. I got in a fight once in elementary school and got my ass kicked, but that was different. He was going to pay, and I didn't care what the price was. Over the next 5 minutes, a lot of punches were thrown. I threw some good punches and even broke Doug's nose with a headbutt before 5 rather large guys pulled us apart. I don't know who looked worse, but if you want my opinion, I kicked his royal ass. Doug was spitting blood and cursing at me, but this time I smiled, which pissed him off even more. They exchanged loud shouts and threats before someone suggested that it would probably be a good idea if I left right away. Connie was crying. Mascara and makeup was running down her cheeks and she looked terrible. Don't come home. I don't care where you go, but just don't come home. I told her before 2 hotel security guards led me out into the parking lot. Almost blind in one eye, I drove home slowly. I parked in the garage and walked into the kitchen and headed straight for the refrigerator. I pulled out 4 ice packs and a Corona. I sat on that damn stool at the bar counter for hours, icing, drinking, and waiting for the police to call. They never showed up. Maybe tomorrow, but certainly by Monday, I thought, looking at my cold, red, and swollen hands. My vacation was going to be different this year, which in itself was an understatement. Christmas was a week and a half away, and as usual, I hadn't done any Christmas shopping. But I had next week off, so that wouldn't be a problem. Especially for a single person, I thought, sticking my hand in my pocket, hoping they were still there. Doug charged me with assault and battery. After I told my lawyer the whole unpleasant story, he made a few calls, and the charges seemed to vanish into thin air. Apparently, some of the superiors didn't want the company name involved. My lawyer assured them that he would use every trick he could to make them look as unsavory as possible in the press. The wife of an abusive husband caught cheating at her company's Christmas party could have had a better holiday story. He was a real bastard, but he was their bastard. Over the next week, Connie called 1,000,000 times, but I never picked up the phone. My 2 sons talked to her but refused to stand up for her. I guess I raised them right. Everyone tried their best to make my holidays fun, but the smell of death was everywhere. All the legal intricacies and shit could wait until after the holidays. No sense in ruining Christmas for the rest of my family. Looking out the window of her parents' house, Connie's mother saw a FedEx truck pull up. The driver wasted no time in rushing to the front door. "A package for Connie Moore," he told her mother. She signed the slip and handed it to her daughter. "Connie, this is for you. It's from Steve." She looked at the small gift wrapped in paper. Opening it, Connie stared at the black velvet ring box. With a smile on her face, Connie opened the box and immediately dropped it to the floor. Two bloody front teeth bounced a couple times off the tile before coming to a stop in front of her father. Lowering her eyes, she picked them up, put them in her pocket, and stepped away from her crying daughter. The letter and divorce papers were delivered the day after Christmas. Connie had hoped that she would be able to convince me not to file for divorce, at least before she had a chance to finally talk to me, but as I understand it, that was not to be. She tore open the envelope and looked at the typewritten letter. Dear Connie, I hope you enjoyed your little Christmas present. Doug himself would never have given it to you. I'm just glad I could. Honestly, I really don't want to know why anymore, because at this point it wouldn't matter anyway. I'm sure you had your reasons. I just hope they were worth what you gave up. However, just so there's no misunderstanding, I didn't get into a fight with Doug that night to get you back. After what I heard and saw, we broke up long before you came out of the bathroom. What I did was entirely my own doing. I guess I could have just walked away and divorced you, slut, but Doug would have gotten away from Scott with impunity, and I'm afraid I couldn't let that happen. He really is a tough bastard. I thought hitting him over the head with a bottle would have knocked him out for good, but I guess deep down I'm glad it didn't happen. Don't get me wrong, it hurt when they kicked my ass out, but at least he knew that for once in his life someone wasn't going to give in to him and go quietly into the night. I didn't see those two teeth until I was out and grabbed them before the asshole saw them. I realized Doug lost his job, but all you got was a demotion. You must have made a good impression on the brass. Maybe, like Doug, one of them will take you under their wing and groom you like he did. Although I bet your co-workers might have a few new nicknames for you. Slut and lecherous are probably the nicest ones I can imagine. Please just sign the divorce papers and we can be done with this pretense. You get to keep what you have and I get to keep what's mine. We can sell the house because, frankly, it's too big for me and it will always remind me of what we once had. I told our sons that you're a cheater and a goddamn whore. Sorry about that, but you are still their mother and deserve respect as far as they are concerned. I'd like to thank you for a good time and wish you the best, but I can't. Frankly, I hope you get some horrible disease and die an agonizing death for what you did to us. And when our good friends ask what happened, I plan to tell them exactly what happened. Maybe you can tell them why, if they still want to talk to you. Your soon-to-be ex-husband. My lawyer got the signed papers to me on New Year's Eve. Looks like I was about to start the new year with a clean slate. I was told Connie quit her job and left in 30 days, but where to I never inquired. I just wondered if my boys would ever tell me about it. My family and a few of my friends think it was stupid of me to give up a 25-year marriage over an affair for which I had already gotten back at them both. When they asked me questions, I'd look the guy straight in the eye and ask if he'd lend me his wife for a weekend for a little sexual release. "Are you crazy?" was their usual response. "But you'll be able to forgive her when she comes back on Monday, and it'll only be once." I think they're finally starting to realize what it's like to be in my shoes for once. I made the same request to at least 6 of my friends, and only one told me I should act on it. The only problem was that his wife was 74 years old, hearing impaired, and needed a walker to get around. Ted smiled and I called him a jerk, but said I'd think about it. Yeah, right. Now, when I read a story about a husband who voluntarily becomes a cuckold, I look at my cracked knuckles. Yes, it was worth it, and I would do it again without hesitation, I think to myself. Too bad there are so few of us.